Why is it that men who are so horrible in books have such a large fan base of female audiences who want to see these stories adapted to the screen? This comment came from a Bridgerton video talking about how the men in the Bridgerton books are so much worse than they are portrayed on screen. And this is true. If you've read the Bridgerton books, you will know and you will see that the men treat the women terribly. I can't think of a single man who is better than the woman except for in Daphne's book. And I'm not talking like rude comments. I mean like coercing someone into having sex, which is borderline rape. I'm talking about actively kind of abusing them physically, not really outwardly hitting, but like grabbing them and being rough with these women who clearly don't want it. I'm talking about manipulating the women, gaslighting them, being outright horrible people, and yet they are the main love interests. Why is it that these stories and these men get so much support and want to be adapted onto the screen? I think there are a number of reasons for this. I think the first one should be stated that these books are a fantasy. They are fiction. They are not real. And so it is a way for a lot of female audiences and male audiences, to be fair, to kind of explore their fantasies of more rough behavior in a safe way. It's a way of exploring kinks without shame, a way of exploring fetishes without fear of harm. It creates a safe space for female audiences because at the end of the day, these characters aren't real. They are not actually going to hurt these women, but it's the appeal of the allure, the idea that there could be pain there that is alluring to some, but within a safe space. And I want to be clear, absolutely nothing wrong with that. Everyone should be able to explore their kinks and their fetishes however they want to, as long as all parties are safe. I think another reason is the sad fact that women do tolerate a lower standard from men than are ever expected of themselves. When thinking about the Bridgerton books alone, the men are forgiven for way worse crimes than the women ever are. The women are held to being horrible people for lying or for trying to protect their own peace, whereas the men are being told that they're horrible people for doing genuinely heinous things, but they're easily forgiven for this because it's all in the name of love. And you can see this playing out in society. This is not something that I really think I need to teach or preach about. We've heard it time and time again. Women are more accepting of horrible behavior from men than men are accepting of normal behavior from women. This is also a very heteronormative approach to this argument, and that is mainly because a lot of the books that are adapted for screen tend to be heteronormative. There is a whole other argument for queer audiences as well. I think another argument to be made is that when these books are adapted, they will inevitably be changed, because what is tolerated in the written word cannot always be played out on screen. It is less appealing to mass audiences. And I think it leads into the idea that these books are a pure fantasy. When you are reading something, you are envisioning it in your head. You have a bit more control over what is happening than if you are watching something. It makes it more real. And when this abuse becomes more real, it doesn't become appealing to watch. It's not something that you want to see anymore. And another part of that is that we are no longer in the heads of the protagonists. When reading the Bridgerton books in particular, you can understand that while the women are being treated badly, they do have feelings for the man. And there is actual affection there, and they understand where this guy is coming from. If you are watching that, you lose that internal monologue. You don't get that anymore. And so you are just watching a woman being treated badly. A disconnect is created because it becomes more real. You don't have choice over what you're seeing anymore. And so inevitably, these books have to be changed. They can't play out the way they do in literature on the screen. It doesn't work. And I think that's why a lot of the audience is excited for these books to be adapted, because the story is brilliant, the world created is brilliant, and they know that these men will be changed. Which is also why I find it odd when so many people are such book loyalists, saying that they want to see the exact story play out word for word on screen. Do you? So why do people want these stories to be adapted? Well, because it's a world that they love. It's a world that they immerse themselves in. They want to see that created and represented on screen. However, I do think there needs to be room for the realization that they have to be changed in order to be on screen, because otherwise it's no longer a love story. And that is the whole point of a lot of these books, is that it's meant to be a love story, but once you make it real, you kind of have to dial back on the level of like internal stuff going on.